Yo, what's up? We're back. So, here we got the Licky line, and these guys are really cool, honestly. I feel like they are kind of underappreciated and overhated. I don't know, Licky is pretty stupid looking, but kind of endearing, and I unironically kind of think Lickitung is cool. I don't know, I like how he looks a lot like an actual animal, kind of. Like he's like a tongue monster. Like, this really is a tongue monster. It's more lizardy, it's more reptilian looking. I like its proportions more. Licky is just haha fat, but I do think Licky's pretty endearing and charming, despite overall being kind of not as appealing to me. And that is actually really relevant because I ended up opting to make them viable. But first, we're back to regular mons, so I don't have to just cover 4 fucking months of a video. So what I can do is cover the most obvious or glaring. What the fuck? Why did that just abruptly change so fast? The hell? That was so odd. Oh, this is nice. Anyways, yeah, I can start with the most glaring or strange things that would jump out to most people. Number one, typing. Super weird typing change. People are like, what the fuck? Why is Lickitung poison type? What the fuck? It was just stupid hack, garbage hack. For those of you who see this and don't have a visceral reaction, kudos to you, because you are open-minded and it's really not that weird. And for those of you who have visceral reactions, especially to type changes in general, because, you know, a lot of people just happen to have that type of thing, and I honestly actually would tend to agree in certain hacks. But I feel like when you're playing this hack, you have to go into it with a certain mindset where, oh, like there is going to be like even just the moves being different, like is such a huge change that like you really can't go into it expecting things that you would normally think that you would know, if that makes sense. Point being, sometimes I'll have to make changes that are always like I'm not pulling them out of my ass per se. Like they are grounded in logic and like reasoning, but the fact of the matter is, yeah, I'm gonna have to make a couple of I guess you could say stretches or reaches to make Pokemon more viable or to prevent overlap, because it's an at-dex hack, and so I have 721 Pokemon to balance, minus like 5 box art legends, or like 6 or 7 like unusable box art legends. The rest of them are all usable and viable and balanced. And the issue with that is there's a lot of overlap, and one of the biggest issues with overlap is like you have normal flying, you have bug flying, you have normal type, pure normal, and then pure water. A lot of those are actually really easy to fix now. But my point is, as you guys know by now, I hope, is that I really do put a lot of effort into like make sure that Pokemon with same types don't overlap. Like they all have their own unique traits amongst their type bracket, I guess, if that makes sense. And that is no exception for Lickitung. So I ended up planning out literally every single pure normal type. Obviously, a lot of the previously pure normal type Pokemon are being changed to get another typing, but a lot of them are staying. And if I had kept Lickitung and Licky pure normal type, they would have overlapped a lot with specifically Pokemon like Snorlax and Miltank and that general bulky fat but still strong blob normal type with good coverage type deal. And that isn't fun. It's just they would not. I mean, these are really cool Pokemon, and I think that I think they deserve something unique. And yeah, we have Grafaiai now, which is normal poison, and I actually had the Nido line pre-evolutions as pure poison normal, mostly for dual stab, and also because I mean it makes sense in my opinion. I mean they're just weird little animal rodent things. They're pretty generic. They're early route Pokemon, whatever. Like I think it works. And you know, it works because it turns into ground, etc. But those guys, despite being viable with a Violet, actually are still NFEs, and so and also they're not like bulky per se. Although they are bulky with the Violet, and actually they have pretty good natural bulk. They're not like bulky, like they're not fucking chonk levels, which these two are definitely chonk levels. Super fucking bulky, which I'll get into in a little bit, but I just want to clarify the typing. So as for why it makes sense, I mean, just looking at them, you know, they're like gross lizard things with giant fucking tongues, which isn't enough to justify it. But then I started reading into the lore behind their saliva, and it pretty much sold me on it. Only because of the balancing, meaning this isn't something I would say is like the perfect fit. Like this isn't something that should be in the normal games. I don't think so. I mean, maybe a mega or something would be cool, or like a regional form. But like as base, I think they're fine as pure normal type and real games. But this is a ROM hack, and I'm balancing everything to be equally viable, equally fun, equally unique. Everything is cool to use, all that great shit. In order to do that, you gotta make choices like this sometimes. And I personally think it's really cool. And actually, as I'll get into in a second, it provides them a lot of really useful resistances and also other like it provides them so much more defensive utility, which is really awesome, and also offensive utility, with the dual stab. But first, I will talk about the actual logic for it. So yes, their tongue is gross. Poison type is gross. Tingling sensation when it licks enemies can cause paralysis. Electric type, just kidding. But like the point is like even just these first two deck entries kind of imply that their tongue is like unsanitary and like poisons the enemy or is like some type of toxin or unsanitary harmful thing to it, so that's that. And then other things that would make sense would be gooey saliva, super sticky. I have to sneeze, hold on, I hate that feeling of having to sneeze and you can't. Tingling sensation. There's a couple more that like were really poison typey sounding. Hold on, I need to find them. Okay, yeah, here. If you don't clean up the spot where it licked you, you'll break out in a rash. Whatever it licks always stinks afterwards, so whether it's really clean is questionable. Again, the paralysis, an intense itch setting in, an itch that never goes away. Paralyzes the prey with a lick, which is another reason they have Thunder Wave and stuff now, by the way, because Devious Lick is a signature move now. I considered making Lick 100% paralysis. I had it like that for a while, but then I felt that it was really weird. Besides for Gengar and Lickitung, both of which have paralyzing licks, so it would be decent on both of them. But both those Pokemon already get T-Wave, so what's the fucking point, I figured making it a cool signature specific for Gengar, especially because the tongue's animation in Gen 7 at least is literally like a gaseous looking ghostly tongue to an extent. It would be cool on Lickitung. And I do think, like, here's what I'll say. If you guys are in the comments right now and you're up to this point in the video and you are an advocate for Devious Lick, fucking Lickitung and Licky, even though cursing the opponent doesn't really make sense, if you're like a genuine advocate for that and you really want it, then I'll throw it in there. I mean, it's not like the most irrational thing on the planet, honestly. I mean, the fact that they get cursed is really weird, but it could work. So I'm not totally opposed to that. I'm leaving it out for now. And yes, I know tongue Pokemon not having Lick is weird, but come on. All right. That being said, I think that's all that there is. Okay, here's a couple more. Saliva grips anything. Useful adhesive. Alright, so that's Lickitung's entries, but that's not it yet. Lickies are even more poison typey, so contains a solvent that causes numbness. Its saliva can decompose anything. Numbness again. Dissolve anything. Unrelenting numbness. Again, numbness. Sorry for the prolonged silence. I'm just trying to read because there was one that was super. Yeah, corrosive elements again. So corrosive elements. It makes them numb. It paralyzes them. It smells. It itches. I mean, that sounds pretty fucking poison typey to me. At least enough to justify it in a ROM hack with a lot of stuff that is sometimes more for. Not in that sense where like, well, I'm going to give everything whatever I want, because no, I really do put a lot of thought into it, and I think that it makes enough sense to the point where I can put it in. I think it's a pretty cool type change. So for those of you who read this, for those of you who saw this at face value, you're like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. I see it totally. Or even, oh, I'd always thought it should be poison type. Then you get the idea. But for the people who didn't, because there's always going to be people who don't, I want to explain it. So hopefully that has convinced you or made you realize why I chose to do that. That being said, normal poison is great. So I want to get into their abilities and stuff. So with normal poison typing, they already have resistances to. I wonder if I can look up I to show you guys the actual resistances without having to list them off the top of my head. Oh, let's see if I can. Okay. So as a normal poison type, you already have a resistance to grass, poison, and Bug, and Fury, right? So those are 4 very useful resistances, and a total immunity to Ghost. But they also have a special ability, like it said in the Dex entries, you know, they have this drool, they're covered in sticky saliva and drool, and they're all gross and wet and nasty. And that's why I chose Liquid Veil for them. I think that's a really cool ability for them, and what that does is it's water bubble, so it doubles the power of their water type moves. So not only is it like a stab boost, but it's also it's the equivalent to stab and adaptability, because it's 2 times boost. So it's as if they were a pure water type with adaptability when they deal with water type moves. So they're getting, I mean, that's like Crawdon level power for water type moves, which you know, you guys know how strong Crawdon it was in original games. But my point is, it's strong with water type moves. It can really abuse water type moves now, which it has plenty of, which I'll get into in a second. But it also gives them a fire type resistance and also a burn immunity, which is neat and cool, but not the most important thing. But it is useful, of course. So you are resistant to grass, poison, bug, fury, and fire. Those are great resistances, and then you have an immunity to ghost, and only 2 weaknesses to ground and psychic. So it's just a great typing for them. Really great, really unique, really cool. And their other ability is Unaware, so with infinite ability capsules you can swap these on and off. Unaware I think fits because they already had Oblivious and Own Tempo, both of which is just stupid fuck ability, like, hey, I'm a dumb fuck, and I think that Unaware can kind of fit dumb fucks as well, because these guys are pretty fucking doofy and dumb. I think some of these folk want to even get Unaware already. They don't, but yeah, it still works. It works well enough. They're pretty doofy. And that gives them a lot more tankiness. They can, I mean, there's so many boosting abilities and moves in the hack now. Also, Totem Pokemon get instant boosts, so you can just completely fucking ignore those, and you're really bulky. So Unaware is super great on these guys. Slightly situational, but still really great. That's why you have ability capsules. So, you know, in the cases where you're not using water moves, or you're not taking fire moves, or you're not in risk of getting burned, run Unaware for the, you know, because there's always going to be something in a fight that can boost somewhat. You know, even with their ability or specific moves that aren't even attacking moves, like, sorry, aren't even setup moves. So, you know, with an added effect of a move, like, it's always useful to have it. If you don't need Liquid Veil, and again, you have the trainer documents available to you, so if you're planning ahead, you can easily just, oh crap, let me use Liquid Veil for this fight. And with Liquid Veil, you have Brine. So like, let me actually get into their stats. So, like I said, Lickitung with a Violet is genuinely viable and good and fun to use, and that's why it's a normal gem evolution, because I don't want you to have to fucking press B every goddamn level. It's pretty tedious. So they have 80 bulk now, which is just immense. Again, like I've said before, HP is more based on size now, and Lickitung is pretty fat, but not huge enough to have 90 HP anymore. So 80 bulk with a Violet and normal poison typing with Liquid Veil is really bulky and really reliable. I believe 80, let's actually do the math really quickly. Let's put in like a max defense. I'm only using speed so I can see the number. Yeah, so like a max defense nature, like let's say a bold Licky, well, it has good HP. 360, it hits 364 HP, which is really solid. But then it also has reliable recovery and slack off, which is great, and also like healing moves like Drain Punch and Giga Drain and shit. But one of the best things, hold on if I can find it, here it is that you hit like immense defense. I mean, 426, and then let's say with the neutral nature, right? 388. So you can have 388 and 426 in your defenses theoretically, and each of them at max level, level 100. You know, for like the post game. This is just to put into context for their base stats. The point is, super bulky. It's not just 120 both defenses, it's actually more. For those of you who don't know, base stats have a different calculation, so it's probably about equal to about 150-ish, I would say. Let's actually fact check that. 388 would be about... yeah, about 140-ish, 145-ish. Defense, special defense with a Violet when you invest, which is really fucking great. You know, he's really bulky. Arguably, walking Licky until you realize that Licky has 110 HP, is much stronger. You know, over 75 offenses, which are respectable and good and usable. But Licky with the 100 is really good as well. And also, item freedom is a big deal in Sweltering, man. Big deal. You're gonna need your item, and if you're relying on a Violet all the time, it's gonna hinder you eventually. You're gonna really want to be able to swap your items if you're truly trying to play to the most strategic level. And that's not to say that like Lickitung is better. I just don't like when people just see, oh, Valley, oh, it's better. Like, no. I would say Licky probably edges out a little bit, but that doesn't mean that Lickitung is bad. And Lickitung definitely has its uses as a Violite. And I also just think it's a cooler looking Pokemon, so a bit biased there. I would probably use a Violite Lickitung as long as possible until I really need Licky. For example, AV Licky is like super bulky compared to Lickitung. But regardless, Licky has great stats too. 110, 105, 105 bulk, 100 offenses, super strong, super bulky, really well rounded, really fat, really strong. It's much slower than Lickitung. I actually swapped their 2 speed stats because Lickitung actually looks like it can move around better than Licky. Lickitung looks like it can run around a little bit, you know, not super fast, but 50 speed with like Dragon Dance is usable. Speaking of, they have Dragon Dance because they're kind of Reptilian-esque, and I've been giving that to most Reptilian-esque Pokemon, so that's why you have that. And it's usable. It's not great, but it's usable. And you got other ways to boost your speed too, but yeah, and then Licky is much slower because of the, you know, how fat he is and how nubby his limbs are now. And yeah, like I said, Unaware is great, Liquid Veil is great. Oh, you have absolutely immense coverage. So with Liquid Veil, again, you're super strong, guys. Like, don't underestimate it. Yeah, it's non-stab, but trust me, it's still hitting really hard, harder than both of your stabs on paper. So for example, stab Hydro Pump hits way harder than stab, I don't know, Double Edge, or what's another 120 base power move they have? Like, I can't think of any others. Hydro Pump wasn't a great example. Let's say, okay, Stab Surf. Sorry, Liquid Veil Surf hits much harder than Stab Sludge Bomb or Stab Hyper Voice. That's a good example because all 3 of those are 95 base power. So there you go. Super strong moves, man. You got Brine, you got Liquidation, you got, so on the physical special side, on the specials, gosh, I am stumbling my words today more than usual. Super tired. On the special side, you have Brine, Surf, Water Pulse, Scald, Hydro Pump, and then Muddy Water, which is really strong as well. All of those are really strong. Muddy Water is 110 base power, 90% accurate, lowers speed. Brine is 70 base power, but doubles. Water Pulse is useful. Scald, that's the burn chance, obviously, 75 base power. Surf is 95. And then on the physical side, you have Liquidation and Aqua Tail. So technically, you have less options physically, but again, both of those are great, 85 and 100 power respectively. So those are great as well. And then you have great stab moves. I don't have to go over all of them, but you have cool, funny shit like Whiplash is really useful. Actually, I was gonna say funny shit like Explosion, but you know, which is 375 base power because it's 250 base power, but it always crits now and it's special, so you're hitting really hard. That's really fun. Other cool fun shit they have, Belch is super great with stab. You can eat a berry and then get +1 special attack after using it. So I really should be using this as reference for you guys because I'm sure most of you have not internalized or memorized all of these vast move changes like I have because I'm the one who made them, so of course I'm going to remember them better. I considered giving them Coil, but my friends were like, nah, bro, it's too much of a reach. But come on, they got long tongues. Coil could work, but yeah, it's fine. I recognize that it's kind of a joke. And they already have bulk up, so it's not super necessary. It would just be nice for like Stone Edge, Power Whip type stuff. Aqua Tail, like slightly inaccurate moves would be nice, but they don't need it. Otherwise, I mean, dude, they have an immense coverage. They already got like Bolt Beam, Flamethrower, so I really just added like some more small things on top of that, but they already had great coverage to begin with, and they have great utility. Cool little shit. Again, reliable recovery. They have good setup. They already had Swords Ends. I gave them bulk up. There's so much to cover. It's kind of hard to do it, but I'll say Belch is great. Stockpile and Swallow are great because basically after one, here I'll just show it. So Spew. So basically after one Stockpile, you get Swallow immediately after, which will always heal you 100%. So you can use Stockpile one time, and then very next turn you can or actually 10 turns later you can use Stockpile and then slack off and do whatever the fuck you want. Or actually, I wouldn't recommend Stockpile and slack off on the same set, but point being, I just read that off because it was right there. You can Stockpile, do whatever you need to do, and then when you're low HP, you can click Swallow and heal 100%, no matter how many boosts you have, which is really neat. And then you have Spew Out, which becomes, so it's stab, and then it's 100, 200, or 300 base power, depending on how many stockpiles you have. and that always lowers their special defense by 4, which sounds insane. Which is it's great. Don't get me wrong, but actually the way stat drops work is not as crazy as you might think. -4 is equal to about a 2/3 drop. So it's only 2/3 drop, which is not like nothing to scoff. I mean, that's a big drop, but it's not like, you know, of course that still is niche. It still requires you to use stockpile, which requires a move slot. So it's not winning any awards, but on a bulky Pokemon like Licky especially, it's really useful, and definitely worth using. Like I said, they have a lot of great utility, a lot of great coverage now. Don't really have to cover too much more. They have great coverage on both special and physical sides. Equal offenses. Belly jump's cool. You can use that with Sucker Punch. On the special side for priority, they have Sludge Shot. I don't want to give them too much priority because it doesn't really make any sense to give them most priority moves. Even like Quick Attack felt weird, but Sucker Punch felt fine, I guess, because a lot of shit gets Sucker Punch for no reason. And it's a TM, so, you know, there's kind of more lenient logic for TMs. That's actually canon. That's not even me, like, changing it. It's canonical. Like, shit gets TMs that would never get that move by level up. So I believe I've covered about just about everything for these guys. You know, I could go into the nitty-gritty details of every little thing, but I don't want to give another fucking hour-long video. I mostly just wanted to clarify the typing and then explain why they're really good, and then, you know, Violet Lickitung versus Licky, the bulk, all that fun stuff. So lots of great sets available to these guys, lots of great utility moves, lots of great offensive moves, super great bulk, super cool typing, super cool abilities. All in all, super cool, fun, new changes for this line. I'm really excited for them. And I believe that's about it. So thanks, y'all.